Hey everyone, welcome back to Story Voyage. Today we've got some spine-chilling tales that will make you think twice about your surroundings. We're diving into stories from Reddit about the scariest moments when people realized they needed to leave. Now, so grab a seat, maybe a blanket to hide under, and let's get into these terrifying experiences. I was on a solo hiking trip in the Appalachian Mountains. It was supposed to be a peaceful getaway from my stressful job. I had been hiking for hours and found a secluded spot to set up my tent for the night. As I was getting ready to sleep, I heard rustling outside my tent. I brushed it off as an animal, but then I heard whispers. I froze. The whispers got louder and I could make out a few words. Is he alone? And now's our chance. My heart was pounding. I grabbed my flashlight and slowly unzipped my tent just enough to peek outside. I saw two shadowy figures moving around my campsite. One of them had a knife. My fight or flight response kicked in, and I knew I needed to leave now. I quietly packed the essentials into my backpack and slipped out the back of my tent, creeping into the dense forest. I moved as silently as possible, not daring to use my flashlight. I kept going until I found another trail and followed it until dawn. I never saw those men again, but the thought of what could have happened if I hadn't left still haunts me. A few years ago, I was on a business trip and stayed at a pretty rundown motel because it was the only place available. Around midnight, I heard a loud banging on my door. I ignored it at first, thinking it was just some drunk guests. But then I heard someone trying to force the door open. I jumped out of bed and called the front desk. No answer. I called the police and whispered what was happening. While on the phone, I heard someone outside saying, "Hurry up, he might wake up." That's when I knew I needed to leave now. I grabbed my car keys, opened the window, and quietly slipped out. I ran to my car and drove to the nearest police station. Turns out a group of guys had been targeting motel guests for robbery. They caught them a few weeks later, but I still get chills thinking about how close I was to being their next victim. I rented a small studio apartment in a quiet part of town. One night, I woke up to the sound of my doorknob jiggling. I thought it was just a neighbor or someone who got the wrong apartment. But then I heard a soft click and the door opened slightly. I sat up in bed, terrified. I saw a man's silhouette in the doorway, just standing there, looking into my apartment. I could hear my own heartbeat. I slowly reached for my phone and called 911, but I didn't dare make a sound. The man stepped inside and started walking towards my bedroom. That's when I knew I needed to leave now. I slid off my bed, crawled to the window, and climbed out onto the fire escape. I made my way down and ran to the building's lobby. The police arrived within minutes and searched my apartment, but the man was gone. I moved out the next day. I never found out who he was or what he wanted, but I'm just glad I trusted my instincts and got out of there. I was backpacking through Europe and staying in a small hostel in a remote village. One evening, a group of locals invited me to join them for a drink at a nearby bar. I was hesitant but didn't want to be rude, so I agreed. At the bar, they kept pushing drinks on me, and something felt off. One of the guys kept asking strange questions about where I was staying and if anyone knew I was there. I started feeling dizzy and realized they might have spiked my drink. That's when I knew I needed to leave now. I excused myself to go to the bathroom, but instead, I slipped out the back door and ran back to the hostel. I locked myself in my room and didn't come out until morning. When I told the hostel manager what happened, he said it wasn't the first time travelers had reported feeling uneasy around those guys. I cut my trip short and left the village immediately. Working the night shift at a hospital can be creepy, but nothing compared to what happened one night. I was on a break in the staff lounge when I heard strange noises coming from the hallway. It was almost like whispering, but more eerie. I stepped out to investigate and saw a man in a hospital gown wandering aimlessly. He shouldn't have been in that part of the hospital, so I approached him. As I got closer, I realized he wasn't a patient. His gown was covered in blood, and he was holding a scalpel. He looked at me with wild eyes and started muttering something about needing to finish what he started. That's when I knew I needed to leave now. I backed away slowly, then turned and ran to the nearest security station. They managed to restrain him, but it turned out he had escaped from a psychiatric ward and attacked another patient. I transferred to a different hospital after that. I couldn't shake the feeling of how close I came to being his next victim. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more gripping content from Story Voyage. Have you ever had a need to leave now moment? Share your story in the comments below. Until next time, stay safe and keep your eyes open.